Beloved star, warmest welcome to Elven Pod 83. So the current energies are in a really strong place. And the the phrase I'm being given with this is Angelic Dispensation. So part of what we have been experiencing is the synchronization of our seventh dimensional Stargate presence with the angelic, the great arcs of the angelic, and of course our seventh dimensional Stargate presence is naturally attuned to that. But this is our body, soul, consciousness at the moment in this cycle of this year's ascension, beginning to experience in its own way for itself this seventh dimensional state, this state of the star creator of dawn, of the one who is dreaming their own reality into being, who is that creator of their reality. And the body is starting to know itself as being this. And in that process, it is birthing itself as that seventh dimensional Stargate. And the body itself, if you like, is our first creation, is our first dreaming from that place of that innermost star creator that we are. And we, if you like, first and foremost, dream ourselves into being, dream this form that we are, this being that we are into existence. And then from there, we evolve and develop the holographic spheres of our reality. But in this cycle this year, our body is the part of us that is remembering and is knowing itself as that seventh dimensional radiance of star creation, and not just going along and believing itself to be experiencing a predetermined reality, a reality that is external to it, it just has to experience, it just has to move through, and is either good or bad, and so forth, but is ultimately outside of it. And that is huge for the body to come to realize that in some way it's actually generative of this hologram of its experience, of its environment, of its continuum. And so the body is undergoing a massive adjustment. And so it's the body, when I say that the seventh dimensional Stargate of presence is synchronizing with angelic awareness, it is the body soul consciousness that is doing that. So it's the body soul capacity within ourselves to become aware in our living moment, our living breath, of the angelic arcs of our own greater being, that are immense arcs that belong to something so enduring, to greater levels of intention that we are. And with that phasing through, that's been the great phase of this moon, we have the alignment with the immortal tree of peace, the causal and celestial expanded dimensionality of the full toroidal field of causal celestial source energy, of that which has self-manifested and returned consciously to itself as the light of source. And those are the dimensions of the immortal tree of peace. And so our body soul consciousness, our seventh dimensional Stargate of presence, is synchronizing with this also. So it's an extension of the angelic, if you like. It's a much more myriad experience energetically for us to be coming into. It's a more complex level of coherence. The phrase I keep using is coherence beyond coherence. We're coming into, our body soul is coming to know that there is such a thing as this myriad of dimensionality, coherence beyond the coherence, actually working together in unity consciousness. Now, of course, with that, it highlights in the body's self-knowing the places where it isn't that. It's like we graduate to a new level of knowing and being clear what within us isn't that. So we get to see in ourselves that which is separation at a new level of awareness, and especially particularly in the body. And that's a lot. It's a lot of information to take in. And this is why ascension can also be an experience in and a continuum in within which our mental health disturbances and imbalances can also be exaggerated or activated because we start to experience such a diverse range of the aspects of ourselves. We awaken to all of the shadow, all of the light. Increasingly, we see more and more of these layers of ourselves. And if we're not in alignment, if we're not able to sustain that gaze from a place of love, then what happens is it becomes difficult for us to hold that level of clear seeing. Seeing it how it is becomes very difficult, potentially overwhelming for the psyche to witness that, and it can re-experience the desire to split off, or to go into denial, or to go backwards in vibration, to try and shut off to the fullness of what it's becoming aware of. And so what we want to do throughout our ascension is both to be compassionate to ourselves and to others who we see experiencing that, and to be aware that the energy that we meet this with is that of love and unconditional love. That when we get greater levels of awareness of our own shadow pattern, of our own separation, when that comes to awareness, and it can be a bit shocking sometimes. There can be times where it's as though we've always known but we didn't know, and we become aware that at those moments, not to activate judgment. We don't use the energy of judgment in relation to this greater depth of clarity. That's not the medicine or the tool that we need within ourselves. What we need is the energy of love. We need the energy of love and clear seeing. And this is linked in with this energy of angelic dispensation. Because without going into denial, without denying that we're seeing what we're seeing, we see it very, very clearly, but without being pushed into judgment. And without being pushed into judgment or avoidance and denial, we stay deeply, deeply present and allow the energy of our own deepest angelic nature to activate its divine technology of dispensation. Now, dispensation is when something is made exempt from a rule or a law. And in the same way, by remaining in that energy of love, we get to become exempt from the fourth dimensional karmic cycles, the laws that say that level of separation within the self, that timeline of that within you means you're going to have to live this fourth dimensional linear timeline of karma, of, gradual suffering, learning, setting it aright through this cycle, this rebalancing. The angelic dispensation, which is a massive aspect of our raise in vibration through our ascension, instead, it's that quantum resolution here and now. It's that quantum resolution here and now, but not through a bypass. In no way is this the energy of the bypass. It's actually the depth of the fire of a love that is the absolute energy of dispensation, of redemption, and of liberation. And it's a part of us. It's a part of you. It's a part of me. Each one of us has this within us. We activate this deep angelic fire of absolute love within ourselves in these places and become ourselves the condition of angelic dispensation, whereby we no longer have to live that looping cycle, that looping timeline. And in that fire of that angelic dispensation, that love, we may be releasing also attachment, attachment to the timeline that would have helped us to avoid whatever it is we're wanting to avoid and not experience what we don't want to experience. The timeline that delivers us what at some level we want, but only to avoid. We're doing it because there's a deeper suffering that we're afraid of, or a pain that we're afraid of, something we're afraid of experiencing. And no positive timeline that's based on avoidance of pain is going to be one that takes us to where our soul star, our angelic self, truly wants to go. So the angelic gaze and its all-seeingness also reveals our separation through, but also through our attachment, through that which we're so deeply attached to, but only to avoid our own pain, not because it's that real deeper longing and desire of our whole angelic and soul star. So the angelic gaze can bring us startling clarity on these deep level attachments, who you want to be or what you want to experience based on the avoidance of pain. And that when we see that, it can be really overwhelming, because it might be something we've wanted or longed for, wanted to be or express or become or have for a really long time, that it's been there for so long for us. And it's felt like such a deep part of us. But the angelic gaze and eye within us, that gaze of the coherence beyond coherence, it suddenly and startlingly knows, no, that's actually part of my separation. It's part of that separation from all that I am. And the greater angelic heart within me, the greater angelic, the true enduring destiny and longing and seventh dimensional star creation timeline is something greater. It's something more. And I am prepared in the light of that love to release even this deepest timeline of attachment. And so our power of angelic dispensation is to be the clear seeing and the radiance that burns through in truth, even that maya, that delusion or illusion. And in that place, we, if you like, there is something that is surrendered, that is burnt through in the becoming of that greater love, that greater timeline, that greater power of star creation. In that, we remain steadfast. We remain steadfast to that aspect of the angelic energy, of that aspect of the causal, the celestial, and the source energy also. We remain true to that. We let that take place. And in the fullness of that energy, we become the fullness of angelic dispensation. We become the liberation from the fourth dimensional linear timelines that we really don't have to live anymore. Those timelines of attachment and of suffering, those timelines of slowing everything down that you may have experienced on a loop, that you may have been running even up until now on a loop, and maybe even felt that you might never let go of, because it feels your sense of faith in your power of divine will in that place is much diminished, because the attachment has been so great, the aversion has been so great, the raveling, the binding into it has felt stronger than your own light and fire of divine will to liberate yourself from it. And it's that place that actually this light, this code of angelic dispensation that is within you now, that is activating for your ascension, it is that which is that spark of your divine will that sets you free, that is utterly redemptive, that is that complete liberation and reactivation of your divine power to act in coherence, even in this part of you. That this part of you too no longer needs to be abiding by those fourth dimensional spirals and laws of that attachment and aversion, the linear timelines that generates, that it can actually gravitate fully right now with quantum grace and angelic dispensation through the angelic that you are, through the angelic love that you are, into, and the clear seeing that you are, into this miracle of your highest dimensional timeline and expression. So this is very, very much the energy of the now that I would love to share as we go through the final phase of this moon. So we go through the waning moon cycle, and we go through a time where we become aware more of perhaps what we want to dissolve from within, more of what the mighty power of the now is releasing within us as we liberate ourselves into the fullness of the next phase of our angelic destiny and experience so much more of our energy as profoundly free to be in that expression. So much love. May this bless your most beautiful path of the earth and the stars. Oh, and Elven Aurora enters its time of the rose moon with the new moon next week. So if you would love to enter through the rose moon portal, and the moon of the solstice gateway, which is going to be stunningly beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful time to embark and come within the Elven Ascension transmissions. So much love, and I shall see you soon. Farewell for now.